Hello, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to AFK Convos, episode 3, the time we played Trials of Osiris. We're just gonna jump straight into it. As always, my host and co-host, Kilgacha, is here with me. And we're gonna just hit the ground running and kind of just go over some talking points about talking points. We're gonna talk about um, the event that's going on with the solstice, but then the meat of this is going to be talking about trials and our experience. If you're watching this live or recording of it, here we have some footage that we got. Friday, Saturday, early this past weekend, of our first card. I think it was doing trials.
Probably.
It was a time. It was a time.
Super fun.
A good time and a bad time and everything in between. And we will be getting into that all very shortly here. So.
Yes. So, do you want to start with talking about the great activity that's going on right now, Solstice of Heroes? What do you want to What do you want to say?
What do I want to say?
Yeah. Do you like it? Is it worth it? Is it fun? Do you want to do it all day?
I think it gives us a grind that's worth grinding for, just because the armor is pretty cool. I think it's neat. I'm a big fan of the armor and whatnot. I just like how it looks. I think it's really cool. Like, I think the style of the armor is always like pretty interesting. It's like pretty ornate armor compared to most of the stuff where it's like very thematically like, oh, here's your like gross hive armor, here's your like vex armor, here's your this armor and that, and like it's all pretty like rugged stuff, and this is like very fanciful and ornate and just has a different kind of like, you know, celebration sort of style behind it. And I guess really just like ornate, like regal, like high court fantasy kind of armor is like what comes to mind when I look at this stuff, because it's got like ropes on it, it's like gold, it's embossed, it's like got all these different things to it, and I think it's pretty cool. But,
I agree with that. I think like one thing I really like about the armor this year is the way that they made it like all cracked, and it looks like instead of the like glowy effect just kind of being an add-on, it looks like it's like literally like coming through the armor in different places, and I think that was like a really neat effect to do to it.
yeah,
And
because before we've had like holograms coming off and like cool stuff like that, and like they've looked good, but this like is literally emanating out of the armor, which I think
yeah,
is
it
neat.
just
Different
it looks like
addition.
it's like escaping you. So, the grind's a lot like last year. For
It
anybody
is.
that did it last year, it's still fun to go in the EAZ. It's amazing how much of that memory comes back of like, oh, I know where this chest is in this general region. I remember now,
Right.
and just like jump back into it. So one of the cool things they did with the armor this year, though, is that we kind of talked about this. We didn't know for sure what was going on last time, but you can actually purchase the armor as ornaments instead of like an actual armor set. So
Yeah. So we ourselves, a little caveat here, like we're still working our first like major set of armor. And so we don't know if when you masterwork it that unlocks the glow for your armor. But what we can confirm is when you purchase the armor ornament from the store, that is just a permanent ornament that you can put on any piece of armor, which I think is exceptional because, like, as we've said, like we've really enjoyed the styles in the past, and especially this one this year, of how the armor looks, and it's been a shame because usually the armor is just like there and gone, like we have it for the summer, and then it's useless. You know, like that's how the flow of them updating and changing the game has been. And so it's nice to know that, like, okay, cool, now we get some armor here that
yeah,
we
and
can use and keep it. So
the ornament comes with the glow, like built into it, and then the
Mhm.
glow like changes according to your subclass. So you don't have to buy a separate glow for every subclass and all that stuff. Hi, Shiva. Um, but like Huck was saying, I was curious if like you did masterwork the armor set without buying the ornament, if the armor then glows by the time you masterwork it, which I think would be like
yeah,
a pretty cool thing if they did it that way too, because then it would make it so that you didn't have to buy either for bright dust or for silver the ornaments, which is the only way
yeah,
that we know that you can get them right out the door. But you also, one thing is you do have to buy the separate ornaments for each class. So if you plan to get the ornaments for each of your
Mhm.
characters, you're gonna have to spend, what is that? I'm like,
18,000 bright dust,
right, dust.
or I think it's like $45.
Yeah, so it's a hefty price. So
Yeah, it's definitely up there. So,
I
um,
had a backlog of bright dust, so like I was okay spending like the 6,000, but that was like half of what I had. So now I'm just kind of like I don't really want to spend the bright
right.
dust on another like armor set. So I'm hoping that we get the glowy if we masterwork it.
I
So
think
we'll
so
find out
too.
as time goes on.
So the way I think about it too is like you get the glowy if you fully masterwork it, but I think the thing is if you want to keep that as a thing to push forward to other armor, that's where the ornament thing comes into play, and that's
Yeah,
where it's like
yeah,
that's where
exactly.
like a little bit of the rub comes in, where it's like but like at the same time before it was like you had to pay like I think it was like I know it was a lot like per
I think it was like 3,000. I want to say like 2 or 3,000 like glimmer per glow or something.
yeah it was a lot, and it was like for the full set, and it was for
Well, you had to
um
buy it separate. There was like one for the
well
arms, one for the helmet, one for
right,
the
and then
chest.
one for each subclass too, I
Yeah.
thought, right?
Yeah, it was. It was. You had to buy like solar, then you had to buy void, then you had to buy arc, and it was just like a lot of
Yeah,
stuff to buy.
just a lot of
So,
just like nitpicky kind of purchases, and that felt weird
hmm
and bad. Oh, I don't know how to walk. It's fine. Um, and so it seems to be, as you said, also, which is maybe the bigger sale on this is like it seems way less grindy than it's been.
hmm
Which like there's still effort to be put forward here, but like I mean we've been pretty casually like knocking out this armor, and we've nearly gotten it to masterwork level after like a day or two of this, you know what I mean? And
hmm
like we have
hmm
not. And like the thing about all this armor too is like it's not meant to be this like oh you go and like buckle down, you grind it out, and like you get the shit. Like you can do that. It's there because it's in the game. But like honestly, like the real meat and potatoes of this is like it's something to be done over the course of the month, right?
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
the fact that we're almost done after like playing casually for ourselves for 2 days means that like this is very achievable. It's not this like crazy list of stuff that it's been in the past where it's like been
Yeah, where you feel
almost
like, oh, I gotta like sacrifice my weekend to like try to get this
yeah, and
done. And
just being
like,
like inundated with like I gotta have this like super grind out spreadsheet plan of like how to address all this stuff. Like you're just going to do, and so
hmm yeah.
um,
Another thing they did this year is I think they amped up the tower decorations. They look really cool when you get into
yeah,
the tower.
no, they've always been super on point, but I think this year they definitely they knocked it out of the park again. I
hmm
really feel
hmm
like um,
But
please,
oh,
yeah,
sorry. I
no,
was
no,
gonna
no,
say it's been nice to like kind of have something else to do. Since like I guess you'd consider this kind of the tail end of the season, even though we still have until November until we get new
yeah.
content. We're
I
kind of
mean,
like at the back like 3 quarters or whatever, and like 4 quarters. Oh my God, I know math. I swear. Anyways,
it's back.
we're at the tail end, and
Yeah.
like it's like for us, we've already achieved like highest light level. We're not like super active raiders, so we're not like going like every week and like raiding and doing stuff like that. I think like
Mhm.
probably the most like I don't know repeatable content that we actually like to do is like prophecy dungeon to try to get like better rolls on like
Absolutely.
gear and stuff like that.
Well,
And
just
so
going back into that place too. This is
yeah,
like
I'm
one of
just
our favorite.
experiencing it. But like this has been a nice thing to kind of distract from like, oh, what do we do? And since you do have to kind of grind like some of the I guess like older content, like doing adventures and doing
Yeah.
patrols and stuff like that. Like I don't actively do those every week because like there's not really a reason to. You don't have to do that to be
You get
successful
some
and
glimmer, you get some planetary materials, but like in the grand scheme of like what the power scaling asks of you in the game, like it just becomes archaic almost.
yeah. Yeah. So it's just kind of interesting because like we were talking about this as we were playing the other night, but it's just like interesting how many activities are in this game, but how many of them are just kind of obsolete in a way,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like sure we have activities like this that do utilize them, but like really like what's the point of going and running like heroic adventures for players other than like new players who obviously don't know the story and like want to
Hmm.
go and like do those quests and
I
whatever.
I
But
think the adventures too, like they're in such a weird place where they like are kind of like somewhat interesting, like one-off extra missions, but it's just like they also kind of feel like non sequitur, just like this could be anything and you'd get the same amount of story out of it, you know? And so
yeah.
it's just like weird because like I like them for their like extra story beat kind of stuff that they do, but at the same time it's
Well,
like
but some of them are literally just like the campaign like missions, but like
yeah,
repurposed as like a
yeah,
now adventure you do. And but some are like standalone things that like open up after you would like get to new destinations. They'd be like,
hmm,
"Oh, like go do this mission for like, whatever." And it's just weird to me, I think, the way that the adventures are set up
excuse me,
because there's no kind of designation of like, "Oh, this is from this like expansion. This is like,
yeah,
you know, part whatever of like this 10-part story." Like you don't know what you're going into like when you go to like take on the mission. You're just like, okay, cool, well, we're on Mercury and like we're doing something, but like, okay, cool, I don't know why.
right.
Like,
And once again, it just comes back to like it being like just made obsolete by just the size of the game and like
mhm.
everything, like every new thing pushes forward is like this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, like it just layers on this whole thing of just like, oh well, I like it loses direction pretty quickly with just like how much there is to do in the game, you know.
Mhm.
So
One positive I will say of like going back and doing the older missions, and we were kind of like giggling about this yesterday. I don't remember what we were doing, but you were like, "Hey, imagine doing this like back when we were fresh players and we didn't have any of these like
power
fancy
weapons,
toys of
yeah.
like, Trinity Ghoul and Anarchy and stuff like that." And just how hard this would have been. But it's like now you go through and it's just like a cakewalk and you feel
You just
you feel
sneeze at it and
you
all of a
feel so
sudden,
strong. You're just
yeah,
like, "Oh, let me just shoot this like one thing over here and oh look,
yeah,
everyone's gone." Like cool.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
so that's kind of funny to do that. And oh boy, what
What
else
a
did
Paul.
we? Hey, Paul.
Trials of Osiris.
um, let's see. Well, another thing they added to with the Solstice stuff, which they do every year, is they give us some more shaders, some more emotes.
Yeah, like
There's a new ship. There's a
summer
couple
fun time
sparrows,
stuff.
and they look
Yeah,
really neat.
that looks super good.
Hmm.
I'm really
Hmm.
into the style.
Yeah,
It's the
they brought
same.
back the like silly ghosts
Mm-hmm. Little like ring ghosts, and then the
that have like the the summertime fun ghosts or
oh
whatever.
yeah, they have the Super Saiyan emotes too. I don't think I'm gonna get it, Paul. It
Oh
just
yeah,
doesn't.
I'm 100% getting that, Paul.
That's
I
amazing.
I'm sold already. As soon as it's Bright Dust, it's mine. I would be Super Saiyan.
We'll see. We'll see.
Um,
Your handsomely face.
Another thing that's really cool that they have done with the armor is if you go through and you do the armor on one
Yeah.
character, you get like double XP for the next and then like triple for the third.
Mm-hmm.
And then today, our good friend Paul also shared with us that if you get all of your characters to the same point of
Yeah.
the same steps for masterworking the armor, which is like the pretty like the more high end content, it's like get 7 trials wins, do
A
like
Master
master
Nightfall.
nightmare hunts and all of
Master
that
Hunts. Yeah.
stuff. If all your characters' armor is on that same step, it will count across all 3 characters. So that's a pretty cool feature, I think, because like it's kind of daunting to be like, oh, cool, I have to go get 7 more trials wins on like my alts that I don't really play that often. That's
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be rough.
Yeah. Be a
So
little intense. So, and
yeah.
like Paul's saying, I have heard about that too. Where like the Titans technically bugged with that experience bonus, for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Paul, is it just like flatly it doesn't get any? Is that right? I think it's something like that. It's either it doesn't add to it, or yeah. So the Titan's the only one who doesn't get the bennies
So
of
if you do
finishing armor
your
set.
Titan first, then you'll be fine with the other 2.
No, it's saying just like nothing
Oh, you're not getting bonus progression with
at
your other
all.
characters.
Yeah.
Is that is anybody else? Because I actually haven't used a second character yet, so like I don't
No,
know.
it's flatly just like what's
It's
happening.
just
It's just
Titans.
Titans. Yeah, for
That's
some reason.
so strange. Okay, well, note to any Titan mains out there. Sorry, that sucks.
Yeah.
Um,
Warlock Hunter, fine and safe. Yeah. It's just funny. So
Well,
I mean, not funny,
besides
it's
that, for everybody else, this should cut down on time for you to do the Solstice armor. So,
yeah, I'm sure they're working on it, but like maybe
yeah.
hold off for a week until they like figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Or just work on your other armor. I don't know.
something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's been fun. There are moments where it does feel kind of grindy. I know, like, for hunters, one of the like steps we have to do is like get void grenade kills, which
Yeah.
like don't even get us started on like how crappy hunter void grenades are. Thank God we have oppressive darkness right now, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to kill anything with our
It'd be
grenades.
a sad time. It'd be a real sad time.
So that's like the only like saving grace of that for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this event's a lot like last year. It's just a little less intensive, I think. So, but I think that's pretty much it, unless you have anything else you want to add about it.
No, I mean, like, so far it seems pretty good. I'm not like, I don't feel super pressured in getting all this done. There isn't like this huge laundry list of things that needs accomplishing. Like, it's just kind of like, just chip away at it, do it as you can. There's some stuff you'd have to think about, because it's like you have to, for us too, another weird one was like you have to get Cabal kills while matching like daily element of things. So it's like we had to be arc striders yesterday, and we also then had to like go and like figure out where to get Cabal. So it's just like some small little stuff like that. But
Yeah.
oh my god, yeah, the 100 mini bosses. Holy shit, I forgot about that from last year.
Yeah, I did forget
No,
about
that was terrible.
The one that I thought, hey Brad, the one I thought looked daunting this time around was like get like, was it 1,000 like orbs, elemental orbs or something?
It might be like 2,000. It definitely is. It's up there.
It's up there, but like
Yeah.
honestly, like in a night, like I finished that, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like everything like so far has been like very doable, and even like by yourself, you don't even necessarily have to have like other people to do it with. I could have like probably soloed all the stuff I needed to do to.
Yeah.
We did not finish the purple set. No,
We're working on it.
we're like halfway done with it, I think.
Yeah.
Probably. But yeah, I think.
So we just wanted to like at least sort of give some early thoughts on this year's Solstice. It's honestly, I think the takeaways are it's very pretty. It's nice to look at. It would technically be the end of this, like sort of like signifying the end of the season, because like a month from now would be technically the old release date for Beyond Light, but that's been pushed out, a month further. So now we kind of have this like no man's land coming up in a little while here. We'll see what that feels like. But yeah, this I think the armor is something worth grinding for if you want to put in the time for it. Also, might make you find some friends to do some stuff with. But so far, I think it's pretty good. It's less grindy, like we said, than last season, but I think it's a nice, fun event, and like gives you something to sort of extra to focus on and work on too.
Welcome
So.
to the Trials of Osiris.
Agree.
Yay!
Paul's saying he got to Magnificent last night, so shout out to Paul and being a hardcore grinder. Nice job, dude.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff you had to do.
So Paul, you finished your purple armor, you're saying? Because if so, like yeah, that's nice. Because then that queues you up, like you're saying, once you get the rest of them done.
Except for he's broke, so he can't get his extra XP. So.
Oh no. It's just fine here. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
So should we talk about? Wait. Oh my gosh, Mongo did, Sega, and Floyven. Wow, we're behind.
Oh my goodness.
You are optimal. You're optimal chonkers.
Some optimal chonkiness happening here for
That's
sure.
true. That's true. I'm just gonna hide offline for the rest of this event, and then surprise you guys when I have.
Just no life it. It's fine. It's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So should we talk about the wonderful Trials of Osiris?
Yeah. We can do that.
Background here.
We can do that. Yeah, the stuff you've seen, the good plays, the bad plays.
Why don't you explain for any novices out there what the heck Trials of Osiris is?
So, Trials of Osiris, if you are fresh and new and have not even dared to dip your toes in there, it is essentially endgame PvP. It is a 3v3 activity, and it is in the game type elimination. So you have one life per round. But there are revives, so your teammates can pick you up in a pinch situation here. Um, and the point of the game is to eliminate the enemy team before you're eliminated. Surprise! Who knew elimination would entail that? But that, in a nutshell, is essentially Trials. You have the way you get in is you purchase a card from Saint 14, who lives in the tower hangar. And there are different passages that you are allowed after getting certain wins and meeting certain requirements. But the basic two are just really nice, easy, kind of like beginner level sort of tickets that you can buy. And then as you get further along and like win, you get rewards along the way at 3 wins, 5 wins, 7 wins. That's like the basics of it is though, endgame PvP, elimination. You have to go in with a squad of 3. There's no matchmaking. You have to go in with 3. It doesn't let you go in without 3. And then you just take it from there. So
You are trying to get to 7 wins on a card, and that's like why you'll hear people say like, "Oh, I went flawless," and that means like they got 7 wins in a row
without
with
a
us.
single loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's it's something.
Exactly.
It's definitely very competitive. I honestly, I've never done trials before. This was the first time I've ever
Thank you, Shiva.
partaken in them,
Yeah.
and they are not for the faint of heart.
No.
Especially, I mean, I trials is skill based matchmaking, isn't it?
It's I think it does a weird mix. That's something that I'm a little fuzzy on. It's a weird mix between both where you are at in your card progress as well as it's connection. It's not even skill.
Oh,
I
I
thought it
don't
was
know.
no,
That's
Paul. I think it is skill based. I think the two that remain to be
yeah.
skill based are
I
Iron
think
Banner
it's
and
card and
Trials.
skill. Yeah. Um, because it's just it's really rough because like the way yeah, we need to talk about the card system.
Yeah,
The way it works is that like okay, when you initially go in, you have no wins on your card yet.
2
So
cards,
you
blank
should be
slate.
going up against other players that have no win um on their card. So,
It's not skill based. Okay, interesting.
oh, interesting.
I thought it was
I thought it was too. I thought that's what they said in
fascinating.
the thing.
I thought that was one of the few that was the holdover that they were going to keep it skill based.
It's hard for me to believe that it's connection based, I guess, because of the level of like skill of people that
Competitors
we
that we
go
end up
against.
going
Yeah.
against, yeah, can be a little
But,
rough.
I guess it is end game PvP. Um, it's just based on the number of your wins? Well, that's
Well,
also
you'll see an
that's
interesting bit of footage where I have some thoughts about that too later on here once we get there, if we get there.
yeah.
No, I remember them making that announcement, Paul, but like we said, we just couldn't remember
Mhm.
where that delineation landed.
So the problem with that system is that like every card is like a standalone card. So like if you've already finished a card for the week and you've already like gone flawless, you can go back and get a new card and you're like back in the pool with all the people who are, at that point on their card. And
Mhm.
so you can go your first game and have no wins and you're already against people who have glowy armor, which glowy armor means that they've already gone flawless for that week.
Yeah,
And so you're literally like fighting flawless people out the gate, which can be really tough to do. It's not like every flawless player you see is going to be like the best player ever, but it means that they, had to be with a pretty good team to like go flawless. And
point
it's a rough
being the
time.
fact that like you as a fresh team are trying to go and like make your way to the lighthouse, which is like the end game flawless thing, and you see people with Trials armor already in full glowing regalia, like coming at you as like a full squad of just like
It's
the top
intimidating.
tier players, and like you are like, I haven't even played this yet this week, and they're already flawless. Like, I guess this is where we're at. Like, it just feels bad, you know.
Yeah.
And we
It's
can,
just
yeah,
I think it's tough too because like me personally, I've kind of like eased into PvP and like worked my way up to be like a better player. It wasn't like something that I just was innately good at.
You
And
want to
so
bone with your skills?
no, it was not. It was not passed down through the genes.
Oh my gosh.
But like it's like intimidating just to come into trials for me because I just like I don't have like super confidence in my PvP skill.
Yeah.
But one thing that I really like about it is that like I know that I play better with like a smaller group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and I just especially with like playing with you, Huck, it's like, we play together so often. It's really easy for me to play off of
Play off
you
one
and
another.
like
Yeah.
know what you're doing because like I'm just very familiar with it. So like I feel really good going into matches and like playing with you because I like kind of can like be like, okay, this is what he's gonna do, this is what I'm gonna do, whatever. And
Right. You know what set piece to like sort of work
mhm,
your way off of and all that.
and so it makes it like a lot more approachable. But I mean, even going in with like someone who is super good at PvP, that doesn't mean like you're necessarily gonna win because you're also going against other people who are super good at PvP.
Super
And
good, and like if they know how to just like use. I play in a very specific way, right? We all do, but like the thing too is like if you just like yeet on forward with like mountaintop and like an auto rifle, aka non-hunger summoner or something like that,
mhm,
like
mhm,
you're gonna have a pretty good time. Like you're. That's the thing is like if you are a skilled player and you know how to use and you take leverage of you like loadouts and weapons and like the current meta of the game, it just becomes even harder if you have three people in the same kind of mindset, like pushing forward with that. Like
mhm.
that's my thing too. Is just like it just becomes just like it's not a skill. Like it just becomes tricky because it feels like it loses its like high end skill based thing in a sense because like well if they're just like holding forward and like using like shotguns and autos and like I guess we just like there's very little counterplay that ends up happening in some loadouts and some things. So like
It becomes a who's better at aiming their summoner at each other's face instead of like, oh, I
right,
should push here to like, you know, flush them out, or like I should flank them here. Like there's none of that. You just
yeah,
are dying like to a mountaintop as you like pop your head out of like cover. And like, yeah, that is part of like, being smart and like being able to
right,
like read what's going on in the like, the match and whatever. But it's just I don't know. It's very defeating, and it's hard to not get kind of like, at least for me, to like feel like, ah, should I really be here doing this? Like this is
yeah,
just, it seems out of my skill level. But like I know I'm not a bad player, but like, when you are just like, I mean, in some of these matches, even like here, it's like I won't even get a kill in, but like, I still was playing my part and like doing what I was supposed to be doing, but like it wasn't enough. Like,
and this isn't to say that like all of these strategies like aren't viable because they are. They're fully viable. Like it's proof in the pudding that they're viable. They're good plans and loadouts to like take advantage and leverage these things. But like it just feels bad when like it just becomes a non-compete kind of fight. You know what I mean? And like that's really where it gets me. Just like then why the fuck it's just set up this way. So
hmm It well, and a lot of it I think has to do with like just the sandbox in general, because like
yeah, Sheba.
it's in a rough place with like auto rifles and everything else. And I think like, with the sun setting coming up and a lot of the weapons are gonna get like
Left behind.
rotated out, um, maybe that will help. But I mean, people can still use them in PvP because, well, wait, does your light level matter in Trials? It does,
Regular
right?
and trials, yes, and Iron Banner,
Yeah.
yes, and everything else, nana.
So at least like in Trials, maybe we'll see less of those sunsetted weapons. But everything else will probably still be there.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what a lot of because a lot. I have a strong feeling a lot's gonna change come
Yeah.
Beyond Light.
Let's back up a little bit though. Let's talk
Mhm.
about some of the rewards you can get from
Yeah,
Trials, because we kind of touched on that a little bit for a second.
yeah.
But like Huck was saying, like you have a card and you've got to get, to 7 wins. So when you get to 3 wins, you get your first reward.
Reward.
When you get to 5 wins, you get your next, and when you get to 7, you get your last reward. And it's been on a rotator of what you can win
Mhm.
each week. And Trials only happens, what is it, like
Friday through Monday.
Friday?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Up until
So,
Friday at reset, so 10 Pacific to up until Tuesday reset. at 10 Pacific. Once Tuesday reset hits, Charles is gone.
And your tokens that you get only work for like
That
that
weekend,
that
yeah.
week. So it's interesting how they've done that. But so you can go and like if you know that like you're gonna win whatever it was, like the shotgun at 3 wins, and like get some legs at like 5 wins, and then
Hmm.
get like a class item at 7. You know, you can do that, but you have people who end up like farming the tickets, which I think is like another issue with like the matchmaking, because it's
Yeah.
like when you're just
Trials
in there
of
to like just
Osiris.
try to get somewhere, but you got someone
It
who's already
just,
like
once again, it comes
is
back
just
to that.
resetting their ticket to just get like, 5 shotguns to get the perfect roll. It's just like,
Right. Well, the other thing too, and if I'm going to interject a little bit here, but like the thing that they've adjusted is before it was just like flatly like no matter what, like win or lose, like you would get only so many, you would get so many tokens, and like it wouldn't be beholden more to bounties. It would just be like get your ticket, go make your wins, and all that stuff. And so what they've done now, and the evolution of them trying to like improve the experience of trials, um, it's at 3 wins you get a chunk of tokens. At 5 wins you get a chunk of tokens. At 7 wins you get a chunk of tokens. And most of the tokens you get are hidden and locked behind. Not hidden. They are left to you completing bounties within trials itself. And so it has lessened the burden of needing to of having people farm you out for tokens and stuff.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But still, it does become this thing too, where it's like it's still easier to get a few wins and then reset your card and keep like for high skilled teams farming up lower skilled players so they can just like get all the kills they want, like get all the thing. Like it just becomes this whole cyclical bullshit thing. So
Yeah. Bread's saying that once you go flawless, they should remove you from getting a ticket, or maybe even at 7 wins. And like,
mm,
I don't, I feel like not maybe not from getting a ticket, but I think like making maybe a different like lobby that it automatically moves
yeah,
those people to, so that like if you've gone, if you've gotten 7 wins for the week, like you're now in a different matchmaking lobby, so that like
yeah,
everybody else is still going against people who haven't gotten 7 wins
no,
yet. Because I
and
feel like that would be a lot more fair. Because like
a lot of
if you're
yeah,
good at it and you want to farm it and get your gear, like more power to you. You should be able to do that. Like that some people, that's like the only reason they play Destiny is to like do trials, and like that's what they're like amped up about. And so I feel like they should be able to enjoy it and like get the gear they want. But like I just having to fight them when I just am like, a beginner, like wanting to just
bread,
be better. It's rough. It's a rough day.
yeah. No, Shiba, exactly what you said though. I think it's kind of what a lot of us have sort of floated around, where like it just would make sense if there was like it's almost like the way that they have comp set up, right? Like that also is another kind of like what is happening here sort of situation. But like typically, once you get like 3K plus or whatever, you're only fighting like big people, like with those kind of like glory ranks and all that. So like if they did something similar, like you're saying with trials, where it's like, oh, you like went flawless, like congrats, like you did it, you got to the lighthouse. Here's your swaggy swag. Um, like it should then pull you into its own separate pool of like flawless players. Like that, it doesn't make sense to me. Like brand new ticket people having to deal with other flawless people. Um,
It's rough. It's
it's
really
just it
rough.
just becomes real bad, and so
Yeah.
um,
It's just hard because like even like you see it like in these matches like that are playing in the background, it's just like uh, it's not just us going in and being like, oh, let's just like plow these people over, and like, even though we're like ahead like 3-0 and whatever, like we're still having to work so hard to do it.
yeah.
Like it's not even, I don't know. It's just
There's still
it's a rough
fights,
day.
but then like you'll see the team, like the thing. I think the team we fought last time, they're just like very good, and it's like, what the
Hmm.
fuck are you supposed to do against that,
Hmm.
And it's just like it just becomes this weird mismatch,
Hmm.
mishmash
It's
of
words. Uh-huh.
different people that you have to fight, and like this feels more like we're fighting against other people of like similar skill, but then like we go against like you're saying, like the flawless people. It's like, what? Well, then what are we doing here?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Um, one we still haven't talked about what you actually win from trials other than types of things, but they put out like a specific like weapon set and armor
Yeah.
set that you can get from doing your wins. But
Yeah, that would probably would have been good to like lead off with too. Before we got
yeah,
into
I know
this.
we like
Sorry.
got ahead of ourselves because we're just so
Yeah.
salty watching this too. But like,
Yeah. There's some tough
um,
moments in here for sure.
yeah, the like I think the creme de la creme of like trials this season has been the summoner, which is like a solar auto rifle, and it's out of control.
Shivers in Wormhaven, indeed. Fuck this map.
It's
Sorry.
it's
Yeah.
it's
600,
gross.
600 auto rifles this season in general. They got a healthy boost, which I think was good, at least in the PvE sense, because like it makes them feel better
Like
than
you're
they've
doing
been.
something.
Yeah, because before it's like I'm just literally like tickling someone with damage and it's doing nothing. But now it's like, oh no, I can like chunk away guys and like with the damage mods it works. But in PvP they are king right now. At all in any range that's like over like too comfortable for an auto rifle to have. They can challenge you with a sniper, a pulse, a scout. They outdo you with a hand cannon. It's like forget it with SMGs. Like you have to be very careful about how you fight auto rifles now because they can melt you at ranges and like they are very forgiving while other weapons are less forgiving. Which is why they do so well because their margin of error is very slight. So
The shotgun they added to Astral Horizons
very strong.
is really strong too.
Big old punchy boy.
Yeah, it hurts. I mean, I honestly like all of the trials weapons. They feel strong, like which they should because this is like endgame
Endgame.
PvP. But I think in the current sandbox, it just feels very very skewed. Like
It's
in a lot of
difficult
ways.
because like if you don't join them, you're at a loss. You know, you're
Yeah.
immediately handicapping yourself, and so it's like if you don't use an auto rifle at this point, that's why I have like issues with a lot of just loadouts you end up seeing here. You know, because chaperone knowing hunger. Right there, chaperone knowing hunger. You know what I mean? Like this is also kind of a goofy loadout because like chaperone's strong, but it's also not like the end all be all shotgun. Like people who are good with it, Shiba looking at you, like can fucking run laps around people. But like you're gonna lose to a mountaintop. You're gonna lose to someone with a good like summoner, forward path, gnawing hunger. All these different weapons. Like it's just like I don't know. It just becomes once again like totally viable. These are weapons in the game. Like if you use them, great. Like that is to your benefit. Like you are going to do pretty well with using it. But at the same
Well,
time,
it's just your playstyle too.
yeah.
You know.
It just feels bad that like sometimes it just becomes like, well, I died again to the same weapon because like it's just better, and like that doesn't like feel good when you don't want to necessarily use that weapon, so
Yeah, I like have been in a funk this season about like what weapons to use, and it's been horrible. But I finally like landed on okay, well I have to use Nine Hunger if I want to like be able to take on any other auto rifle. So it's like
or
okay,
competent
well
other
now
person.
I'm
Yeah.
one of the problems, and then
Yeah.
I want to use a fusion rifle because
Well,
my build has been around a fusion rifle, so I put on Bastion, which like immediately that's a toxic build. Like
yeah, because it's like once again like hard to counter weapons, which like what like I think it's hard. I also stray into that language of like it being like a problem, but like it's just a part of the game, right? But like with the way it feels and with the way that like we can't do anything but like
it
use
just
it
feels
back.
forced, like a
Yeah.
forced loadout almost,
Yeah.
and that's what's hard about it because like sometimes I think like with the way that trials are right now, it's like it's not even about your skill or your ability to like problem solve or like, do plays. It's oh hey, did their
Did you
ricocheted bullets like go around the corner
did you
and
put
get
on
your
the
foot?
right did you put on the right gun and win? Like that's what it
Uh,
feels like it comes down to. So
yeah. So
um
what, Sheba, why are you saying please to me, Nemesis? What are you?
I think it's your Bastion knowing hunger
No.
being
I'm
toxic.
sorry, dude. It's toxic, but like it feels really good because I'm so sick of dying to these nerds with mountaintop and freaking summoners and everything else. It's just I'm over it. I'm just over it.
Yeah.
Um and that is a thing too about Trials, is because it is so highly competitive, it can be very toxic and
Right.
like
Well,
as with any end game
yeah.
like PvP. But I mean, when people like in Trials just like are mountaintopping your face and then like continuously like rocketing your body after you're dead because they just think it's like so funny that you suck so bad and they're so good,
Yeah.
and then they teabag you, it's like really just
It's
frustrating
just
in so many ways because like
salt and the vinegar with that.
yeah, yeah.
And those like fresh wounds. It's like ah. So
It's just I don't know like how to fix the toxicity in the game, and like I think
you
it's funny
yeah.
that like the simple like action of someone literally crouching and standing on your dead body could be so maddening. Like why would you care? But it's
Yeah.
also just so disrespectful.
It
So
feels real bad. And like the thing
it's
too, like
bad.
it's hard for me to like remember this, but most of those people who do that are just like angry 13-year-olds who don't know how to like express themselves.
They're
So
also angry 30-year-olds that don't know how to express
like I said, angry 13 going on 30-year-olds.
So if you're listening to this and you're one of those toxic players, just please take the high road. Just fucking emote to your
Also,
like
know that I see
teammates
you,
and
and I
like
think very
get
little
over
of
it.
you in the sense
Yes.
of your capabilities of being a sensible human being.
Unless you're one of the Canadians, teabag away. I don't care. You're allowed to do it. It's your heritage. It's
It's your
fine.
heritage, goodness me. It's just like when it's already a highly competitive thing, you're fighting against things that feel unfair to fight against, and then those people doing those things are dropping the huge like disrespect. It's like, well, what the fuck are we doing here? Like you're already
Why are we
flawless.
playing
Like
this?
what? Like I don't want to do this. Like it just becomes
Yeah.
this weird mix where it's like I love the feeling of besting another team in like a close match, or like it's like oh shit we lost. Like dang if we'd only done that better. Like there's so much that comes
Yeah.
with it that like um
And
just
Sheba does it. Oh, okay, Sheba. No, Sheba, you're my nemesis. I'm not giving you anything. You're not allowed to teabag. The Canadians are all. You're over. Get out of here. Um, sorry.
no, it's fine.
The other thing, like, as everyone was like saying, oh, Wormhaven, because this map is just horrible. Is the fact that like you have to play the same map like all weekend for trials
Oh
is
my
kind
god,
of rough
yeah.
too, because like I feel like really good players get they know the cheeky angles, they know like where to stand to catch you off guard, just like you see Huck like laying some of these places that are just stupid, like you shouldn't be able
Just
to snipe
dumb
somebody through
side
them, but like
angles, yeah.
he does it, and like but that's like what good players do, but like it just becomes this like game of like cat and mouse of like, okay, who can like snipe through this like little tiny
Yeah.
like slot before
Who can
the other, and like it's not even about like being able to be like again fluid with your plays or like your loadout, it's just about like who can get to this point before
yeah.
the other team and like
Yeah.
execute quicker or better or be luckier.
And like
And
that's a lot of what this map came down to. Oh, there's our Astro Horizon, nice. Um and so but like the thing too is like you saw there's a few rounds ago, there's this one team that like I think swept us like 5-0. And like there's one play where like they threw a grenade like in front of us and like that kind of like drove us back, and then out of nowhere lightning grenade like comes flying in against the wall, and it's like I guess I'm dead now, and like just bot, and
yeah,
it goes off once, and like Paul and I think both get taken out, and like Katya's left to herself, and it's like
I know,
just because they threw two grenades down a hallway like we die,
I
and it's
know.
like oh wow we were so outplayed, like it just feels really fucking
Bad.
shitty.
Feels bad.
um and
We've
so
talked about like it would be better if they like had a rotator of like 3 different maps so
yes.
that, because like that's the thing is like, I I know that like as a high-end PvP player you should be able to adapt to like any map and make it work. But truly, like everyone has a map that they do better on. For me and
Hmm.
Sheba, it's Javelin 4. That's the best map in the game. It's the only map we need. I don't know why we play any other ones,
Hmm.
but it's a good map. But like Wormhaven and any of those like snipey, dumb like lane maps where you like are forced into tunnels. Oh my god, like
Exodus Blue is also another tough one because of
I
that,
don't have a
because
chance because it's a sniper's paradise, and like
hmm,
I'm
I think it's more of a shotgun ape's paradise
it's
more than a
both. It's
sniper's. Yeah,
both. It's if you're not getting sniped, you're getting shotgunned or
yeah.
mountaintopped. Like there's no in between. Well, I mean, there's the auto rifles then, just like shooting you from
Well, to
all
clean you
sides
up.
because
So
there's no like range
yeah.
stop to them. So
So it's just been an experience. We've done trials for a bunch of weekends now, and
Not nearly enough.
this past weekend was definitely an experience. It wasn't terrible all the time, but it's more or less the same. Like I don't know if we've ever really punched out of 5 wins, and
It's
it's just
just
like
it's defeating. We never really felt like excited about what we were doing. It was more like, oh, thank God we made it through that last match. Like if we can just get one more, like we'll be
yeah,
at 5 wins or like whatever. And
yeah,
like it's not even like, oh, hey, this is fun. That was such a good play last time. It's more like, God, like why does this feel so crappy?
yeah. More often than not, it's definitely just like holy shit,
I
we
mean, sometimes we have
survived.
good plays and like we feel
Yeah,
good. There are matches, like don't get me wrong, we wouldn't be going back in there to do it if we were having a horrible time.
yeah,
But it's just the thing is that like I feel like in theory, like it's such a great activity for, end game PvP. It's just there's these glaring problems that
yeah.
are,
Uh,
making it less fun than it could be. So,
right, and I really do think the one of the better things that could change is like eliminating people out of like if you've gone flawless, just like pull them out of the pool, right? Like
hmm hmm
I think that itself would curate the health of this playlist like super well, But it's just like it becomes so tough when, like we said, like oh, we just want to like play the game, and like we're getting essentially it feels like we're just getting punished for that. We
yeah.
don't like play it the right way, and it's just like like the thing about Destiny 2 and its large philosophy is like bring what you want with what you have and like go for it. Like that's literally like you got it in PvP, go bring it to PvE, go bring it to Gambit, go bring it to those strikes, go bring it to the Nightfall. Like wherever you've gotten a thing, go and fight with it there, and use it there and like feel good about it there. And like with trials a lot of the time it really does feel just kind of like a wash of just like well, you didn't use the right thing, time for you to lose because these people like are super skilled with the thing that you should have been using and now you're punished for it. And it's just like that's overall like what the experience has been for me, and I think for us in general. And so it's just like just becomes tough to like want to just like keep coming back to it when it just feels like all you're gonna do is get like punished for playing it.
hmm
So
Well, and we're stubborn too. Like I don't
yeah.
want to just like put on 2 auto rifles and like just go for it, Like I don't
Right.
want to use mountaintop. Like it's just it's because we're stubborn. We don't join the meta, but
Yeah.
like whatever. We make it work. I think the thing that's cool about trials though that I noticed for myself personally is that um, you know, because trials is 3v3, like you have to be very like aware of your positioning and the way that you're choosing engagements because your teammates need you, they rely on you. And
Yeah.
so I think like it really does make you a better player because it forces you to really look and say like, okay, what did I do wrong there? Because I think it's hard to do that in like regular Crucible where it's 6v6 because it's just chaos and
It's
it's
just
like,
madness, yeah.
you can be like having an engagement with someone and like doing all the right things and then some guy can come up like from like Timbuktu and just like snipe you in the back of the head and like you have no control over
It's like you were
that.
never part of this, sir. Please go wait your turn.
Yeah. But like I feel like in trials you really have more of a space to choose your engagements, really think about your actions, like think about okay, how should I approach this? Like what weapon should I
Yeah.
use? Should I like hold this down with a grenade? Should I put a smoke here? And it's made me a better player because of that, because I've had to kind of like be like, "Oh, I need to figure out a way to survive here," cuz
Yeah.
it's true, like everyone plays their part and with trials especially because the 3v3 and like these uh the funny thing about like all of the Crucible maps too is that like these were originally made for most of the maps were made for 4v4 play.
4v4.
So like when they switched it to 6v6, like the crowds or the maps are crowded, the spawns are glitchy as
The crowds
heck.
are mapped also.
Yeah, the crowds are mapped.
Sorry.
Um it's just I think 3v3 feels really good on most of these maps
Mhm.
because it just feels like you have the space to navigate, you have the space to like choose where to hold down and be able to actually like hold the points because there's 3 versus 6 trying to like, buckle down on you. So
Yeah.
um it's nice. I like it a lot. I think that aspect of it is definitely a positive because you do have to uh, get good, as the kids say, to succeed.
No, absolutely. Overall, I think like we all have our gripes about Trials and like how it could be better and how it can like be some of the best PvP, but also exemplify some of the worst aspects of like what I'd like to believe has become like a stale meta once again as this game kind of
Hmm.
like runs through. Um,
100%.
but it's still good. I think it's still worth like bringing a squad in there and like trying for yourself and like cutting your teeth on the difficulties that Trials brings. But um, I think it's still a fun game type. I think it just needs a few pretty drastic tweaks. Like I am not a network engineer. I do not know how to figure out how to even begin separating the flawless players from the regular loot pool and all that stuff. But like it's a good game type. It has its difficulties, but I still think it's like worth trying, worth going into, and
Oh
just
yeah.
sort of like testing yourself in even a little bit. So
Even to go in there and lose, like I think it's still fun to just like have the experience of being like Oz and trials and like even it's some of the people that you go up against like they really are impressive and like the shots
mhm.
and like the things that they get done where you're just like oh man, like that's who I want to be when I grow up. Like,
it's
like you run into
it's
those kind of
it's a
players.
weird
Like,
mix of like how the fuck did they just do that to like I'm not mad. That was incredible. That was
yeah,
absolutely
he's so
like it's a
good. He's
weird
so good.
blend of those two things. So
I'm equally parts impressed and just disrespected.
furious. Yeah. So
Yeah, so Trials is fun. Go do it if you haven't.
mm-hmm.
To the
But
Trials of
also just
Osiris.
remember it's end game PvP, so approach it that way. It's
People will be coming at you hot.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I think these are the guys we fought twice in a row.
Oh
There's one
man.
team in this footage, and I don't know if we'll get to there, but like there's a team that we fought and we lost, and then we immediately queued back up and we fought the same people. So that's why it makes me question like how card
Yeah.
based is
But
this?
yeah, because we were one behind them. They were
I
one ahead of us
believe
since they had just beat us. So
my
how
child.
are
I
we
think they
almost?
skunked us in one round, and then we took like one or two away from them the next game,
Yeah,
and then I think that was
yeah,
the end of our card at that point too.
yeah. I think
So
they were rude dudes. That was a yeah. This was a a rough night of trials,
yeah,
if I
towards the end of
remember right.
it was a little
Yeah,
tough.
yeah. It just gets
So
hard too because I feel like a lot of times in trials, like um the work kind of falls to like the better player. Like
Only one
I feel
is
like
left.
Huck a lot of times you're having to like do the cleanup and like the planning
well,
and
it
take
just
out the
helps to
people.
like
Like
get a pick to like open up for you guys to like move forward and do stuff too. And
hmm
so yeah, that was also yeah no these were the guys these were the guys. Once again, this dude's already flawless. Like his helmet and his cloak are like super shiny and glowy. So it's like
hmm
I guess this is who we fight for our
I
fifth
will
win.
be beaten.
So that's where it just. Anyways, that's enough griping and harping on this. It really is like, I I I like to hold myself to a high standard, and it's why I kind of like hold these like defeats in games and just like frustrations like so tightly because like I know I'm better than like some of these plays like pop out. So
I'm pretty sure we saw some guy with like 700 and something. Like
Guardian,
was
I
that
totally lost track of
flawless
going on.
tickets
I don't
or
know. It was
was
something
that
gross. Paul, we might have gotten them in this, but I'm not sure. That might have been
yeah,
like another attempt that we did too.
the other team
Um,
wins.
yeah.
Make this
but I
match
can't quite
It's
remember.
just it's very skewed. It's very crazy. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
I really like love trials and I want to like enjoy it more. It's just hard to get over the like hump of the
only one ally is left.
you know,
Their hands.
just
Just the
super skilled
difficulties that come
players.
up with it. So honestly, but like, yeah, I feel like we're kind of backsliding away from us closing this out. But like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's good. It's a good game. It can be very frustrating. It can be so rewarding. In some
hmm
of the stuff that you can do and like coordinate as a team with. So I if you haven't tried it, please go. Bring two trusting friends with you, and go forth and see what you can do with it.
Get to the lighthouse, please. Light a candle
it.
for me. Someday I'll get there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I that's kind of largely just like what we wanted to cover. It's Paul, you mentioned it earlier too, but it's also you need to get 7 wins to masterwork your Trials armor. So that's kind of like another reason
Is
why
it
you might be keen on it.
7 wins on a ticket, or is
No,
it just
no, flatly,
Okay.
flatly.
Okay.
It's
okay.
the
That's doable. That's doable.
there's a triumph for this season to get Forerunner that has the same mechanic where it's like you don't need
Oh,
7
okay.
wins on a ticket. It's just 7 wins overall. So
Okay. Well, that's
yes,
good.
maybe
That's
something to calm
doable.
your nerves, Brett.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feeling about this. I feel like we've kind of
No, I think we covered it. I think
Yeah.
like it's definitely
got to really.
there's a lot to be
There's a
said about
lot.
Trials, but there's a lot to take away from the enjoyment of Trials too, and just the fact that like we even have high end like PvP content to partake in. I think like when they took Trials out of the game for so long, it was a real bummer.
It put a lot of stress on comp. It put a lot of stress on like all the other PvP.
So it's so nice to have it back. I think that like as we get new content and things get updated, I think that a lot of these game types are probably going to be reworked in a lot of ways and be.
I
just,
hope
you know,
at least. Yeah.
I think they will. I really do. I think Bungie. I don't think Bungie like is completely just oblivious and blind to like
No,
the glaring
not at
issues
all.
within the game, and like I think they do want to make the game like the best experience they can for the players. So I think it will be addressed. I just think like with anything with the game, it takes time,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just got to try to like enjoy it in the way that you can.
Yeah. It is
Even
what
if
it is
it's
right
not your
now.
cup of tea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just got to work with it.
Um,
So
but it's definitely a rewarding game type, and it's super fun, and you get to
Mhm.
go with your friends. So
and laugh and cry together.
yeah.
It's great.
So is there anything else that you want to say before
No,
we kind of
I think we've done it. I think this is another complete episode.
we've
I think
achieved another
We've done
level.
it. Yeah. So,
Yay.
yay.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks everyone in our chat for hanging out with us and talking to us. Just a little PS, Sheba is allowed to teabag. He's not my nemesis all the time, but I have to just throw that in for a second. So I hope next time you guys will join us when we put down the controller and show another AFK conversation. That'll be next Thursday at 11 Pacific.
Mhm.
So with that, talk to you guys then. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.
Bye, friends. Bye.
Bye. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at AFK Convos, as well as subscribe to AFK Conversations on YouTube. And don't forget to follow Mr. Huckleberry on Twitch so that you can catch our live broadcasts. We hope to see you around the next time we put the controller down and share another AFK conversation.